Welcome to Paradise Block 4. Just as a reminder, we have an introduction video. We call it Welcome to Paradise. And it has all the general instructions and videos of all the components that we do. So what you're going to find is, this is the third month that we're doing these videos. We are doing similar things every single month. So I might not be going over every section in as much detail as I used to, but there is always a reference for you to go back to see the flying geese, the square in the square, the half square triangles, and then later on the hourglasses, okay? So this is your reference sheet that came with your first month's packet, and all those videos are up online to show you what's going on. So we are back at the lights, and we're going to start with some flying geese. We do a lot of flying geese, a lot of half square triangles, a lot of square into squares. So we are going to be doing geese in two different colors, fabric 7 and fabric number 4, as well as fabric 9 and fabric number 2. You're going to start with squares. The large square is 5.5 inches. You're going to cut that into quarters. The small square is 3 1/8, and you're going to cut that in half. And these are what's going to make your flying geese. Okay, so when we do our flying geese, we are going to sew on one side, lining up from the bottom to top. We're going to iron that out. You're going to do the second side, again, bottom to top. You're going to have allowance on the top of your goose for trimming. And when you look at the back side of my geese, you'll see that the seams chase each other. You're pressing out on one end and in towards the other. So when you square your geese, you're going to start by dropping the picot on the point of your triangle, lining up the diagonals on the triangle, trim to one side. Then take your regular ruler, flip that around, drop that into the 4.5 by 2.5, and trim the other side. You will be making 4 of these units and 4 of these units. And today we are going to be sewing them bottom to bottom. And if you've done these, again, all the same directions, when you line these up, the seams should butt, meaning you should be able to feel a stop and a stop when you push this corner into this corner to help you line up for your seam to sew these together. I like to press to the side. However, feel free to press open. When you press open, okay, these corners are really very, very flat. So if you don't like bulking your corners, go ahead and press those open. Okay, so we are making 4 of these units with your flying geese. Our next section is going to be our square in a square. We have square in a squares using fabric number 5 and fabric number 2. You're going to start with 3 1/4 inch squares. You're going to mark your center, sew a 1/4 inch on either side before cutting them apart. I have little scraps everywhere from squaring. You're going to press these open. Okay, I press them to the side because I do that. And then you're going to square these up to 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. I like to use my square in a square ruler 2.5 inch. I'm going to line up that diagonal line right on the diagonal. Trim. Turn my piece and trim. You're going to be making 8 of these because we have 4 patches to make. The 4 patches are going to be made with 2 of the half square triangles and 2.5 inch squares of fabric number 1. So these are very light pieces that we're making today. I like to line up all my pieces. This one has the fabric number 5 on the inside and the fabric number 1 in the corners. I will lay out 1 and then I will lay 4 pieces all in the same manner so I don't get mixed up when I sew my 4 patches together. And I've got 4 of these to make. Okay? 4. Our last piece is a square and a square. The center piece is fabric number 9. This is a 3 3/8 inch square. These are made, the 4 side triangles are made with a 3 1/8 inch square. There's 2 of them and you're going to cut them in half and you're going to sew them on either side of your square using a good 1/4 inch seam. And then you're going to square using your square and a square ruler, right? Making sure that your horizontals and verticals are in the corners and trimming. So we have our square and a square unit. We have our 4 flying geese units. And this one is done with your purple on the inside. So with the purple fabrics, you're making a star. And then our 4 patches are sewn in with the fabric number 1 in the centers. Okay. Yay!